You're not the announcer.
Oh, you're the associate.
You're right. I'm sorry. My apologies.
So I'm going to. Good morning. Is it on? My teacher voice. Good morning. That worked. Thank you. I'm Carol Stanfill, a member of the board of directors, so I have a few announcements before church begins. These are on the back of your service, but we like to just review them a little bit too. Don't forget the NAACP meeting in the Great Room on July the 19th, Saturday. Oh, wait. Was that yesterday? Yes. I hope you read this ahead of time, but in the... Okay, that just occurred to me. Let's skip that one. But we could celebrate Reverend Rod. Don't forget that we're going to have a party to celebrate the 2 years that he has given us as he retired and re-retired, and now will re-retire again. And it's on the 27th, that's in the future, at 5:30, a potluck dinner and music jam with Reverend Rod on the wash tub, huh? Good. And you're going to sing? We're going to have all kinds of good music, so don't forget to come to that. It starts at 5:30 right here. If you like it quiet, you can eat your meal in the library, and if you like it more active, be in the RE room. That's right down at the end of the passageway there if you haven't been there before. Is it on? But I have to get real close. Okay. How about like that? Thank you. I hear it now. Okay. Rich is taking pictures. Are you here, Rich? Don't forget to talk to Rich in the green shirt if you haven't had your picture taken. So I'll do mine today. I'll see you later. We're going to put together a 70th anniversary photo directory, which will help new people, and it'll help some of us who are not good with names unless we can see name tags. So good. If you have a group where you'd like him to come, if you have more than 3 members, it'll be worth his time. So get in touch with Rich, and he can get together and have a time when you can get the picture. We'll be over in the gallery, right? Okay. Women's Spirit. Years ago, when I had never been to this church, I read on the internet about it, and I used to watch it on Zoom, and it said they were having a retreat for women in the mountains, in the Sacramento Mountains up by Cloudcroft. So I thought that had my name written all over it, and that was the first thing I ever attended, was women's retreat. And just thought this was the greatest church in the world. So come to the women's retreat. You can talk to Sarah or Rabbit. There's Sarah and Rabbit. Almost to the back of the room there. It's this 26th to the 28th of September, but you need to plan ahead now. It'll be beautiful up there in the mountains, maybe fall colors, we'll see. But it's just so nice to get away. All women and those who identify as women. Don't forget the fall enrichment adult classes. Talk to Sarah again. Lots of good classes will be going on, and she wants to know by today. Let her know by today if you are interested in teaching a class or attending a class. Change for Change right now goes to the radio station, 101.5 on your dial if you haven't listened to the local station. Talk to Ed or Claire, because they both work there, right? Where'd Ed go? There you are. Talk to Ed about, he's in the back with the blue shirt. And Claire, you work for the radio, right? Okay. 101.5. If you put your change in the basket, that will go to there. Any other important announcements that I missed? Okay, welcome.
Good morning, church. Good morning, Eric. I am Eric Ramirez. I am the music director of this church, and I would ask you to rise in body or spirit as we sing, I've Got Peace Like a River. Now, do the Unitarians have motions to this? No? I've got peace like a river. No? Follow me, okay? Follow me. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean in my soul. Now, I don't know the ones for these. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrop in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got strength like the mountain. I've got strength like the mountain. I've got strength like the mountain in my soul. I've got strength like the mountain. I've got strength like the mountain. I've got strength like the mountain in my soul. Thank you for that.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We welcome those of you who are in the sanctuary this morning, everyone, and those of you who are joining us on streaming technology. My name is Elvira Mason. I'm your service associate today. Our service leader, of course, is our own Reverend Rod Thompson. And the director of music is Eric Ramirez. And he is joined by our UUCLC choir. Our director of religious education is Kelly Ingram. Yay! Yay to everyone. Assisting us on technology are Elwin Nunn on camera, Allison Claire Neal Wallace on audio, and Mike Yatzko on YouTube, streaming technology, and all of our beautiful slides on our monitors. The chalice table was prepared by Diane Lee and Jillian Lang. Our greeters today are Carol Stanfill, Lisa Stevens, and John Seeley. Hospitality will be offered by the Finance Committee, and we are all delighted to be with you today. If you are visiting today, we would like to meet you. If you're in the sanctuary, we'd like you to rise in body or spirit and introduce yourself by telling us your name and where you're from, but wait until I bring the microphone to you. Do we have any visitors here in the sanctuary this morning? On, yeah, okay, groovy.
Hey, good morning. I'm Dana Holland. I just moved here from Austin. I've been here about 5 months. Happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Kira Pipkins. I am the granddaughter of Joan and Bob Pipkins and the niece of Aunt Jeanette, of Jeanette and Brian and Savannah's cousin, and I'm visiting from the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair.
Good morning, I'm Butch Lawson, and I'm visiting from Austin, Texas.
Good morning. I'm with my wife, Valerie. My name's Chris, and we're also from Austin, Texas. Happy to be with you.
We've got Austin refugees here, okay. Any visitors on streaming technology? Okay, anyone else? Have I missed anyone? Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. We're really glad that you've joined us here today. And for our service, we ask that you fill out a visitor's card. If you haven't done so already, they're available in the lobby. Or you can send us your email and we can keep you updated on other services and activities in the church. If you are a visitor but a shy one, please also, if you're in the sanctuary, fill out a visitor card or email us if you're visiting us via streaming technology. And if anybody has any questions, we have a pamphlet area out in the lobby, and you're welcome to join us there after the service for any questions. Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and values, and our congregation's covenant of respectful relations. We believe in freedom of religion, and we embrace diversity in all its forms. Everyone is welcome here. You can learn more about our church by visiting our website at UUCLC.org. And please, we may not have creed or dogma, but we have coffee and conversation. And that is held down in the RE building, inside and outside. Join us there after the service. We are now going to light our chalice.
You lead out.
Okay. May this flame affirm us, the light of understanding, the warmth of sharing, and the fire of love. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying the church's affirmation of covenant and then singing the doxology in both English and Spanish. The words are on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Let me serve.
My opening words are adapted from the Reverend Carl Seaberg. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and in the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and our despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning, and let there be welcoming in our joy in our coming together. I believe it is Kelly's turn.
Good morning, church.
Good morning,
Kelly. This morning I will be reading The Tree That Dreamed of Spring. Once upon a time, in a cozy forest, the kind of forest that welcomes everyone, lived a tall oak tree named Oakley. Oakley loved the feel of the sun on his leaves during the summer and watching the rabbits drink from the stream. And he loved the crispness of autumn, watching his leaves change colors as the squirrels collected their acorns. But most of all, Oakley loved winter. He loved the way the snow blanketed his branches and the quiet stillness of the forest, the kind that welcomes everyone. He would dream of winter and how everything would be still and peaceful. When winter finally arrived, snow fell, and the other trees grumbled about the cold. But Oakley was happy. He watched as the stream began to freeze, and how the squirrels slept soundly in their nests, and the rabbits burrowed under the snow. To wake. What is happening in his forest? The kind that welcomes everyone. Oakley wondered, why are the other trees changing? Oakley watched as the snow began to melt, revealing the dark earth beneath, how the stream seemed to flow a little stronger as the sun grew a little stronger. One morning, he awoke to find a small green leaf unfurling on one of his branches. What is this, he thought, just a little nervous. A wise old owl who had been watching Oakley hooted softly. That, my friend, is spring. She said that it is the time of new beginnings, a time of change. Well, Oakley had never experienced spring. He had only known summer, autumn, and winter in his cozy forest, the kind that welcomed everyone. He felt a mix of excitement and fear. He watched as the other trees around him burst into leaf, their branches full with blossoms, the squirrels scurrying up and down their limbs, the rabbits waking from their burrows. The forest where everyone is welcome became alive with the sound of bird song and buzzing insects. At first, Oakley felt a little sad. He missed the cold quiet of winter. But as he watched the stream come back to life and the families of squirrels and rabbits begin to grow since he'd last seen them, he realized that change wasn't something to fear, but something to embrace. It brought new life, new experiences, and new wonders. He began to understand. Spring was just different, but it was still filled with the same kind of squirrels and leaves and rabbits and streams. From that day on, Oakley still longed for the quiet, still sleepiness of winter, but he also dreamed of spring and the joyful, sunny blossoming. He learned that every season has its own special magic here in his cozy forest that welcomes everyone. Thank you.
Well, if you were here last week, you know that I'm Lynn Pearson, and I said I'd be back with more new members this week. But before I call the new members, I'd like to acknowledge a few people who are new members but who are traveling over the summer. Some live outside of Las Cruces. One person is Marcia Atkinson, who joined in June of this year. I have to go down my list here. And Rex Myers and Susan Richards, who actually live in Socorro. And they also travel a lot. And Marie Warren, who I can only think of as being shy, but I think many of you know Marie. And she signed the book in October of '24. So right now I'm going to call the new members that are here. They told me they'd be here. The first one is Christy Mykander. Now, Christy has jumped into a lot of things. She's a greeter. She's a member of the hospitality committee. She's hosted 2 circle suppers, and she belongs to a covenant group. We have James and Janet Saul. There they are. They've attended a circle supper. They were at our new members gathering in May, and we really enjoy them. And next is Callie Weston. Now, this is interesting because I asked Callie, well, how have you been able to engage with the church? Well, Callie commutes from El Paso. And while she works in, or she does some social justice work, it would be over there rather than here, although she did go to the the NAAC convention and sat with a lot of us from the church. So these are our new members, and we have small gifts for them. And I'd like you to join me in welcoming them. You can follow after me. We welcome you with open arms. We welcome you with open arms. We welcome you with open minds. We welcome you with open minds. And we welcome you with open hearts. And we welcome you with open hearts. We're grateful that you're a part of our church community. We are grateful that you're a part of our church community. Let's give a hand.
Would you rise in body or spirit with me as we sing our hymn, Over My Head? Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I hear angels in the air. Over my head, I see angels in the air. Over my head, I see angels in the air. There must be a God somewhere.
One of the ways that we support one another in community is through the sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones. In these very challenging times, it's crucial that we attempt to stay connected to one another. So, if you have a joy, a sorrow, or a milestone that you'd like to share with the congregation this morning, please raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. Let's know your name and what's on your heart. And please remember, no announcements or politics. I'm going to start, hello, there we go, with Katie this morning.
It's with very deep sorrow that I share with you the passing of Janet Martinique yesterday. She is mourned by her UU family, her 2 sons, and we have 2 cats who need a home. If you are interested, please let Jane know or my husband Bill. Thank you.
So I would just like to share on Friday night before Janet's passing, early in the morning in my home, we had a conversation. She had insisted that she wanted to go for supper with the UU dining out, which, you know, she for many years had set up for getting people together to just feel a part of the church. And I asked her, in fact, Linda Rochella, to make this all possible in terms of my busy day, she came over and helped her get a shower, wash her hair, and feel ready. And we kept saying, "Are you sure that you want to go?" And she said, yes, yes. And so when she got home, her good friend Merrill, who does come to this church, I believe, and I got her into the wheelchair that we were using and pushed her into the house. And I asked her, I said, how did you feel about your meal tonight and getting together with all your UUs that you love so much? She said, it was hard, but it was wonderful. And she said, I have been so many places and lived in so many places, but never have I had so many good friends who care about me as I've had here in this church. It is a gift, she said. It is a gift.
I have a joy. I feel blessed that over the past several years, when I needed solace, when I needed inspiration, I could come to this church, and I knew in the pulpit there was a man who would raise me up. And for all of these wonderful years that I've had with you, Rod, I thank you.
My name is Jennifer Trantham, and my is a joy. I got to spend my mother's 80th birthday with her in Ruidoso. My sister, my niece, and I, we had a wonderful 4 days. It was very traumatic to see all the damage that's been done in Ruidoso, but from my mother's old home there, my sister's new home, it was absolutely beautiful and peaceful, and I'm just so grateful I got to experience that with her after all we've been through these last couple of years.
It was a real joy for me to hear that there's somebody here from the Montclair, New Jersey church. It would be a longer commute for me than El Paso is, but my children, Ben and Sarah Klein, grew up in that church. We were living in Montclair for 20 years, and they were each born in 70 and 71, so it goes way, way back. But it was an absolutely wonderful experience that we all had there, and it's just, it was such a pleasure for me. I had also gone to another Unitarian church when I was living in North Carolina. It was absolute pleasure for me to come into this church and immediately feel welcomed and comfortable. So thanks very much.
I'm going to light this candle. There it is. For all of the joys and sorrows and milestones expressed here today, and for those that were held deeply in your hearts. We all have hopes and joys and worries and wounds, and we should remember to treat each other with kindness and patience and love.
My reading is On a Joy That Is Always Available by James Cruz. The Benedictine monk, Brother David Shendel Ross, has famously said, "Joy is the happiness that does not depend on what happens. In other words, the surface happiness of having things go our way or finding our own desires fulfilled can never match the sustaining power of a truer, deeper joy. Yet we often forget that the smaller joys we cultivate each day remain more sustainable over a lifetime, and that joy is available even as we struggle through a difficult time, even as our world reckons with tragedy and war. I love how Sharon Corcoran describes these as daily visitations. Though moments of joy so small, they barely register until we prioritize them. Like other qualities we might give our attention to, like gratitude, kindness, and mindfulness, for instance, perhaps we can also make joy a regular practice, knowing that it does not make us self-centered to receive the grace that rains down from such seemingly ordinary pleasures. It is a joy that is always available. May it be so.
I had 2 conversations with Janet Martinique, and I very much enjoyed what we talked about. The subjects were quite varied. But hearing the news of her passing, the words to today's anthem mean so much more. Listen.
O life that maketh all things new, the blooming earth our thoughts within, our pilgrim feet wet with thy dew, in gladness hither turn again.
From hand to hand the greeting flows, from eye to eye the signals run, from heart to heart the sense of life that knows no death, the life that maketh all things new.
From 2010 to 2012, I came here as your interim minister after Reverend Nancy Anderson's fine ministry. 11 years later, in your infinite wisdom, you invited me back as your half-time contract minister. And I have been here for the past 2 years. I do have one more Sunday, so. I've been asked to do a compare and contrast service about my 4 years with you. So here it is. I guess I ought to give you a disclaimer. My entire time as a minister doing homilies and sermons, I've always worked from a script. Today is a variation. I have notes. So it may not, you may need to go out for lunch. I first want to set the stage before my coming here in 2010. Mary was my wife at that time. We had been through Las Cruces several times. Her entire family had, one by one, moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. So this was the nice route to get there. On the way, on one of our trips, we stopped to see a friend from Maryland, from the Paint Branch Church that I had served, who is now living in Santa Fe. We needed to see her because I had performed her wedding, and within a year, her husband's memorial service, he killed himself. So not only had I done a wedding ceremony, I also did a cleansing ceremony for that apartment. On one occasion, we tried to find our favorite potter, or her favorite potter, family's favorite potter, Rich with a capital H. He was a member of this church, or at least an attender of this church, and I can never remember his last name. Some of you do. Anyway, we found where he was living and went to the farm, and we got a tour and all of that. And just as we were leaving, his wife came out. Before you leave, I've got this dozen eggs for you to take to the church for the minister. I don't think it was you. But anyway, we delivered it. We gave them to somebody. I have no idea who. We fell in love with Las Cruces. So when the opportunity came up to offer to be the interim minister here, I asked to do that, and you all invited me to, or at least the search committee did. The congregation at that time was very heavily humanist, not so much not. I mean, it's the same way, basically. And so they were happy to invite me as a religious humanist as their minister. There were two problems that had significant accomplishments attached to them. The first was the round table. Those of you who were here then, the round table was almost a separate institution using the library during the second service. We did 2 services in those days. They didn't really feel part of the church. The church really didn't feel part of them. How to resolve that? Well, Barbara Myers, who was a member of the Kent, Ohio church, I had never met her, but when I was coming here, the folks in Kent said, "Oh, you've got to see Barbara." Well, I did. She was part of the roundtable group. I invited her to be part of my transition team. And through the 2 years, the roundtable learned that they were part of the team, part of the church, and the congregation said, "You are part, you're under our tent." The other was the pagans. Cassie Callway was the leader of that group, still is. They didn't feel like they were part of the church. The church didn't feel like they were part of us. By the end of the 2 years, they had applied and become an official CUPS, Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans. The tent grew larger. A significant happening during those 2 years was the memorial service for Patsy Tombaugh. If you are new, you know who Patsy is. Patsy was Clyde Tombaugh's widow. Out there, beside the back windows of the gallery, is a memorial sculpture. If you haven't seen it, because it kind of hides out there, take a look at it. It has Patsy's favorite phrase, "We shall muddle through." I guess my favorite memory of my time as your interim minister was the farmers market singers. Mark and Kathy and several of you all were part of the market singers. Every Saturday we made music, and that's the reason why this is here this morning. We put this sign out over Mark's guitar, and people would throw money in it, and we would then contribute it through the church to the Peregrinos. We tried to resurrect that 2 years ago, and it didn't work. It took 3 rounds to find your new minister to follow me. We had actually offered to stay after our 2 years, but a new minister was found instead. There were lots of important people in our lives while we were here, but 3 came to mind as I was thinking about it. Jane Ash was the president of the congregation when I signed the contract. Rich Richens took over after that, and we spent more time around my round table in my office than I think I did at home sometimes. The other was Marion Lytle, who I hired as our administrator. The staff was only 2 people at that time. Catherine Massey as music director, and Susan, somebody throwing money at the idea? and Susan Frettenall as the DRE. one of the things that I took pride in being a sin, is I rearranged the sanctuary for those 2 years. The pulpit was over here. The choir stayed where it was. The piano moved to this side of the room. And there were groups of chairs there and there and there, as well as over here. So people could actually see each other rather than the backs of heads. It didn't take, because it's almost as soon as I walked out the door, it went back to this. So we had the presence of UU royalty with us for a while. Judith Walker Riggs, who was one of our eminent preachers, both here in the U.S., and she spent several years in Great Britain. She retired here. I did her husband's memorial service and convinced her to come and lead a service. And I still remember one phrase, anyway, from, I should be so lucky with mine, but one phrase that I remember from what she said: when you get up in the morning, don't turn on the news. It'll ruin your day. That one I followed. I do remember we having a great party out at the Richens just before we left, which was great fun, but literally the next day as we were leaving, I mean literally leaving, we made one stop on our way out of town for an appointment for Mary with a neurologist, where she got her first diagnosis of memory loss. The in-between. We left here in 2012, came back in 2023, so there were, 11 years in between. We went back to Ohio. For the first 6 months, I worked for WKSU, the public radio station. I had worked for them before as one of the developmental people. You know, we sold not commercials, but attributions. But they didn't need anybody to do that. What they needed was a receptionist. So for 6 months, I was the receptionist. That was kind of interesting. We got one of our cats through them. Other times during that 11 years, I was a substitute teacher in a couple of high schools. I found the rural high school to be much more congenial than the urban one. After that 6 months at WKSU, Keith Cron, who was in charge of interim ministry at the time, asked me to go to Greenville, North Carolina, where we spent 18 months. Much smaller congregation than this one, and in greater need. Interestingly enough, they called a developmental minister after that, who was also Reverend Rod. We had to be Rod 1 and Rod, anyway. It was during our time in Greenville that Mary came to grips with how her memory was failing. She had had a doctor's appointment, and she turned the wrong way out of the parking lot and was halfway to Raleigh before she realized she was going the wrong direction. She had to ask directions to find her way back to Greenville. Once she got into town, she found her way home fine. But when she came in, she didn't literally hand me the keys, but she said, "I'm not going to drive anymore." That was an important step. So I had then a new job in retirement primary caregiver. It put me in the hospital a couple of times, a week at a time. I was reminded by my family, if you don't do something, you're going to end up dead. That's pretty emphatic. During the second visit, of course, both of those visits, Mary couldn't stay by herself, so she was in respite care in the Woodlands, which was literally next door to the hospital. I did a rehab after my second week in the hospital, also at the Woodlands, so we were able to visit even. And when I went home, she went upstairs into the memory care unit. She died 9 months later of COVID, one of the first victims of COVID in an institutional setting in 2020. I ended up selling the house at the urgence of my family, especially my brother, who lived in a condo out in Denver. He said, "You got to get out of this house, get into a condo." So I did. Also during the in-between time, I would have a monthly lunch with 3 ministers. Stephen, who was the minister of the Kent Church, Alex, who was the minister of the Meadville, Pennsylvania congregation, and Joseph Boyd, who was the minister of the Youngstown Church. I was the retired minister. Stephen unfortunately died. Alex is now retired. Joseph is the only one of us still working. I got lonely. I got bored. I missed my community. So I consulted the Unitarian Universalist listing of ministry opportunities. I spotted 3 half-time ministries that looked like they might be interesting. One was in Colorado, not too far from where my brother was living. One was in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, where my daughter and her family go every year and plan to retire there whenever they retire. The other was this congregation. The folks in Colorado sent me a nice note saying, "No, thank you." I did an interview with this congregation's search committee as well as the group in North Carolina. Interestingly, the head of that committee was a former administrator at the college I went to. And my sister and her husband both knew him very well. I liked both congregations. But as I walked through the grocery store, I got a call from this congregation saying, "We'd like you to come and be our half-time minister." So, of course, I had to call the guy from North Carolina. I accepted, by the way. I guess I wouldn't be doing this if I'd have been in North Carolina. Anyway, I called him up, and he said, "Oh, we were just about to call you." I said, "You were too late." So, timing helps. Okay, back here. You were still dealing with the recovery from COVID. At least, I mean, not the actual dates, but the recovery of the feelings and how to live post-COVID, much like my parents talked about post-depression. I had to learn how to do halftime ministry. They say there are no halftime ministers, only halftime salaries. I was happy with the halftime salary. I just didn't know how to do halftime ministry. At first, we were doing half month on and half month off, and nobody, even me, could figure out which one it was. So now it's mornings on and afternoons off, but it's still more than halftime. Fortunately, Reverend Ali is going to be 3/4 time, so he'll only have 1/4 to try to figure out how to not work. I think perhaps I am most happy, joyous about is the lessening of the anxiety that was here when I arrived. We've recovered from the 2 low-level conflicts. We've recovered from the break-in. We finally got these doors replaced. I think this was the last piece. That was October when we had the break-in. And it wasn't the insurance company's fault that it took that long. It was anyway. I was delighted by over 50 people coming to the Thanksgiving dinner that we had, the community dinner on Thanksgiving. That was almost twice as many as the year before. I'm proud of making the staff, the full staff, the ones you don't see on Sunday morning, also visible. Everybody participated in the Christmas Eve service. Every member, plus they brought their families, which was great. And then we have continued to do a lot of that. I'm particularly happy with how the RE team worked this past year. For the first time, at Kelly's remembrance anyway, we had a blessing of all of the RE folk last fall. She led 2 owl sessions in the 2 years, and then we had a bridging ceremony just last May. Of course, we also celebrated Catherine's 26 years as our music director and gave her a big party and celebration in the last service of 2024. And perhaps the most impressive accomplishments this year is you all completed 3 searches at the same time. You've got a new minister arriving. He'll be here actually in the service next week with us. We have a new music director. We've added a pianist. And we hired a sexton. And then he left. And then we've hired another sexton. Maybe that's 4 searches. Anyway, that's the time here. The joy of my return engagement. As we all know, there have been some ups and downs in the life of our church community over these past 2 years. I'm happy to say that the community still feels like that community that I loved 13 years ago. I guess that's the heart of my joy, that the spirit, the fun, the music, the caring, and the love are all still here. So it is with that joy I wanted to leave you with what I shared with the board on Wednesday. The state of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces is good. The energy is good. Sunday attendance is good. The programs of the congregation are strong and in line with our mission and vision. The covenant groups are providing the connections that encourage the personal growth of our members and friends. And the caring committee is supporting those who need their services. And I am leaving you, even though I've got another Sunday before I leave, I am leaving you with a strong, skilled, caring, hard-working staff to move the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces into the new program year and beyond, under the leadership of your new minister, the Reverend Ali K.C. Bell. That's the joy of my returning engagement.
Well, on that note, just a quick reminder that the operation and outreach of our church, it needs your input, it needs your contributions, your time, your treasure, your talents. This is the perfect time to think about what you can give back. In a moment, the greeters will pass through the sanctuary with the offering baskets. Please give generously. And I do want to remind you that we support organizations identified by the Social Justice Committee with our Change for Change program. This quarter, it is again KTAL 101.5 FM community radio, a real gem in this community. You can give to them by putting your change in the basket or by writing Change for Change in the memo line of your check. Please give generously.
Joy, a Benediction by David Breeden. May your heart dance in wisdom and wonder. May golden light and whispering breeze fill your moments with joy, the very spark of being. Live like a sage, play like a child, dance with moments as they arrive. So may it be, blessed be, Ashe and Amen. Let's sing.
Would you rise in body or spirit with me as we sing number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. Peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. Joy. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Wow. Won't you join us, please, in saying the following words that'll be on the screen as we extinguish the flame of our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
When I introduced the postlude to the choir, they had never heard it. I am glad that this is going to be something regular that I'm going to do with everyone. Yeah, if you want to join in, join in.